This is my mom and dad's old fan. They've had this thing. Well, they had it in the 50s when I was just a little feller. This is a Homart cooler, Sears and Roebuck company. When they had this, ceiling fans really hadn't been invented yet. And air conditioners is just a figment of somebody's imagination. We didn't have them either. But this thing here would do a pretty good job. You put it in the window and you let it pull the air out. And it would basically pull air through the house and take the hot air out the window. The belt on this one is really in bad shape. In fact, there's pieces of the belt laying down inside of there. So I'm gonna take this cover off. Looks like there's just 2 screws. I think it tilts out. And then I was thinking it would be a lot easier to find a belt that fits that if I take that old one out before it completely disintegrates. So I think I can just, I think that's just a screw that goes down in that. I don't even think there's a nut or anything on that. I might need a, yeah, that's been on there since the 50s too. Might need a shot of oil and a better screwdriver to get into that. But that can be done also. There's one side coming out. Let's see. I might get this other side to turn. Yeah. There you go. I love old things that work. Nowadays you buy a new thing and if it ever stops working, you throw it away because you can't fix it. Something like this has been working for, what would that be, since the 50s? Well, let's say I probably had this since I was born or before I was born, so I'm almost 70, so they give you a pretty good idea how long this has been around. I suppose I could probably shoot some grease in this thing here too. Look at this belt. Ain't that a beauty? I think I can get that off there without it coming completely apart. It's worth a try, ain't it? Pull. Yeah, baby. See, here's pieces of that belt. They give you an idea of how far gone it is, and yet it was still working. We had a neighborhood party this weekend. I had this thing out here running. Run like a charm. Got an old motor on it. It still turns free. I don't see a grease fitting on that. But I guess it don't need one as long as it works. I might could drop a drop of oil or 2 down in it. Oh, the joy. Alright, that'll give me an excuse to go to town. Give me another belt. Bless my heart. I made a quick little run up to the parts store. They got me a National Auto Parts XL 257345, and I'm hoping it's just going to fit on here because otherwise I'm going to have to figure out how to get the bolts loose and adjust where the motor sits. So that's how you would adjust the belt on this thing, and that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is this is just going to slip on here. Boy, that's tight. That's not going to happen. So what I'm going to need to do is go back and see if I can get the next biggest size, I think. Let's see if I can get it on a small pulley. Nope. Nah. So see what we'd have to do to move the motor. Oh, it might not be that bad. Might be easier than making another trip into town. Well, yeah, I got room to slide it here. That looks like about a... I need my glasses to see that. It's a nut and a bolt. Almost impossible to get my hands into that. Because I'm going to have to get a wrench up underneath there to grab the other side of that. Yeah, that's problematic. On the other hand, a whole lot of soakage with oil might get me close. No way that's going to stretch that far though. That looks like about a 3/8 or 7/16. I suppose we could try something on it. Now it may be that there's a lock nut on the other side of this that just will allow me to loosen. Oh, it would be nice if it was. Sometimes they would manufacture them in the old days to make them fairly easy. Oh, two different sizes on there. Well, there you go. Somebody jammed it before and lost the nut. That one is loosening. That's good. That's one. Doesn't feel like it is. But it may be loose enough to let me move this. That's really all we need is to get it loose enough to move a little. It seemed like there's a way to get my finger up inside there, but I might can lubricate the bottom of here enough to get that to slide. There we go. She's moving. I don't know if you can see this little nut here, but she's sliding. That's good. That's good. Okay, now I should be able to slide this back one tighten it. That should be enough to make it work okay. That should do the trick. Let's sit this thing down. Watch your toes and your fingers. Oh. Oh. What did I do? Did I break a connection somewhere? Something come loose somewhere. This should work. done something to kill the motor. It could be that one of these wires ain't connected good or something. Dang. Dang, I say. I bet this wire right here is broke. It looks like there's a wire that runs from the switch to here, and it's broke. See, that's what happens. Some of these old wires are so old and fragile that just moving it around caused that to come undone. Okay. So, I might fix that. Which might be trickier than you would think. Put y'all down for a second or two while I take a look here. It looks like there's yeah, I see it now. So, I'll get y'all around here where you can see it. And I'm gonna have to hold this wire up. But if you look down in here, you'll see inside of here, you'll see a little nut on top of a clip. And at the base of that nut, just in the shadow, there's a place where there was a wire connected. It's literally right down in here. It may be possible for me to reach in there and loosen that nut in order to get a thing back onto that. And that's going to be my challenge. So, by the way, my camera is going bad on me. I can tell. I can't exactly tell you why it's doing what it's doing, but it's making a lot of weird noises and different things. So, pretty sure I'm going to have to buy a new camera pretty soon. But if you hear anything that sounds strange, that will be why. I think I'm going to use a little WD-40 on that one because it's the kind of oil that doesn't stain and it won't do any damage in there, I don't think. But right there, that piece right there is what I need to have. I need a better place to put that light than that. Something about like this, maybe. This one has a magnet on it. If I get it to hold right and sit right. There we go. Oh, my WD-40 is not gonna work. That's great. Awesome. I just want to sit this back up here. Squat on the floor with it. See, that's that noise I was telling you about. Yeah, that gives me a good. If I had something that would hold that right there. So let me show you what I am up to here. Down inside there's a nut, and there used to be a little thing, one of those little loopy looking things that a wire attaches to that is actually under that nut. Now to get that nut off, you can see this piece of metal is right in the way. Pretty hard to get a wrench onto that. And that would be the best way to fix it, is take that nut off and put a new end on a piece of wire and reconnect that wire. But it's a lot of trouble to get it off of there, and if I'm gonna go to that much trouble, I want to make sure it's going to work. So what I've done is hooked up a test. I've got this little squeeze clamp, and I've got the squeeze clamp hooked to the post that the nut is on. Now if that squeeze clamp touches the metal either on the engine or on the mount, then we're going to get sparks and blown fuses and possibly a fire and all kind of stuff. I don't want that to happen, but I still do want to actually test. So I've got that hooked on there, and I've just got it sitting in such a way where it isn't touching anything that it can short out on. And I'm going to just throw the switch just so I can make sure it's going to work, and then if it is, I can figure out how to get that nut off and on. So I'm going to do this really quickly. That told me she works. So now that I know she works, it's worth my trouble to get that nut unscrewed and screwed back on. So this is going to require, and I'm going to unplug this thing, by the way. I don't want to be handling those wires while it's plugged in. But this is going to require that I actually, probably the best thing to have right there would be a crooked, probably that's a 3/8 inch nut. If I could get a 3/8 inch open end wrench onto that and get enough room to swing it, I might could loosen that and get it to turn a little bit. So what I'm needing is, that's a 3/8. So what I'm needing is, and I'm going to have to set you down because I can't hold the light, and you too. Okay, here's another possible thing I could do here. This motor is sitting in a saddle mount, and there's a nut and screw here. If I loosen that nut and screw, and then I come back here all the way to the back, there's another one. I should be able to turn this motor enough to be able to get a socket on that. Now, I've already said before, I've already apologized before for not being able to find y'all the best possible place, or a better possible place, but I'm, for the sake of me getting this done, I'm going to set you right there. I'm going to get me a straight-headed screwdriver, and I'm going to loosen these two. Here's my screwdriver right here. I'm going to loosen these two nuts here. That one's not real tight. Wouldn't hurt to have a squirt of oil on that and on one back there. Turn this a little. It's loosening up pretty easily. And then I can turn this one a little. I didn't realize I was going to be getting this involved in this whole thing today. I thought it was going to be a quick and easy belt change, but that's kind of the way things go. You know, you start something, think it's going to be really easy, and sometimes it gets a little complicated, a little more complicated than we thought it would. Let's see if we can turn this a little. Oh yeah. Here you go. Check this out. So see, I'm turning that. Hooking my screwdriver right here. Now as I am, you can see that nut right there. That nut right there is the one I'm trying to get loose. You see that? So I should be able to reach in there with a 3/8 socket. That's not 10 millimeters, I think that's an 8. That turned out to be an 11/32, and it's on there pretty tight. Now what I don't want to do is loosen this and have it fall off. I probably want to use a magnet to help me whip that out of there so it doesn't wind up going down in that motor. Because that could happen really easily, and then I'd be unhappy. Would not be happy if that happened. So, over here, just for the occasion. So I'm going to take this magnet, come in here, and I'm going to unscrew this with my finger, and I'm going to grab it with the magnet as it's coming off, so that it won't all down in there. There it is. Now, next thing I'm going to do is pull off the little clip with the wire. Used to hold the wire in place. A little bit like doing surgery, I think. I've never done surgery, but, well, there was that time with Bubba. That time me and Bubba was out in the woods and he had a headache and he asked me to do brain surgery on him, but we won't go into that. So see, that's the clip that was on there, and it broke loose right here. Now, I've got a box of clips right over here, and I should be able to fix that clip. See right here, replace that with. And if I can get that clamp off, I might be able to use the same wire. One of the things about splicing wires is the more times you splice them, the more opportunities you have for something to disconnect later on. Now, if you can keep it as simple as you possibly can, which means as few splices as you can manage. You see, I can go in here and grab this wire and unclamp that. See, there's my wire right there. And save this little thing, I might use it later somewhere else. But it would be smart to solder that, but I'm not feeling that smart today for some reason. I may just stick it in there and clamp it. I might live to regret this decision. On the other hand, knowing that I've got to get in there again if the need ever arose, so I'm just going to go with it. Just like that. Now I'm going to reach over in here, stick this right back onto that. I'm going to have to bend that a little like the other one was bent a little. What I'm going to do is just take this right here and bend this like this. I don't want it to bend so much that it blocks my bolt there. I'll give this another little squeeze right in here. See what happened? I broke my wire loose, so maybe I should actually go ahead and solder that, because if I don't, I'm never going to know for sure if I got that in place. So, let's get the soldering on now and do it right. Soldering iron should be right here. I'm just gonna let that sit there and warm up a minute. Okay, this should be hot enough to do this. Somebody asked me while I was waiting for this to warm up, I looked at Facebook and Jim McKee asked, what does grace mean? I said, grace is when you know your dog's going to poop in the floor and you're going to step in it, but you love him enough to forgive him in advance. And that's like Charlie. Yeah, I knew Charlie was going to poop in the floor. Yeah, I knew I was going to step in it. But Charlie was old. He couldn't do any better. Couldn't help himself. And I forgave him in advance of all the wrongs. In fact, I forgave Charlie in advance for all the wrongs he could ever commit. And I've done the same thing with my wife. She's forgiven in advance for any wrongs she might ever commit. That's what grace is. Alright, so I've sorted that wire. And now I'm going to let it cool off before I touch it. And I'm going to stick it back down onto that little thing in there. The wire is old. As old as the fan is, I believe, but it's not too far gone to be good still. I'm going to try to ease this screw back into place. And now we'll give it another test. Should be good now, but we'll put this wire back up here. Contact. So now I'm going to retighten the fan screws. I said fan screws, but it's actually the screws that hold the motor. You remember I showed you the motor was in a saddle? Well, these two screws hold it in that saddle. Now let's turn it on. One thing I kind of noticed there is I don't think this is tight enough. I think it should be tighter than it is. So I believe I'm going to change a little change to how tight that is, because the motor starts, the fan doesn't start spinning, it slips on the pulley. So it needs to be tighter than that. So that means I'm going to have to try to get this back that way some more. I know that the one on the bottom is loosenable, the one on the top really isn't, but I'm going to go ahead and loosen this bottom one. And then what I'll do to move that top one is I'll just bump it a little. The screw, just bump it that way. There's a screw on top, so I can't turn it. Iron banjo string right there, I believe. Maybe it's too tight. Maybe it's putting so much pressure on this that it won't move. So let's change that back. One thing that's happening is this pulley is loose on this belt. Maybe made that way. Maybe made to it might be a safety feature to keep somebody, little kid, from getting his finger locked off. Working on this example of what I talk about a lot of the times. A lot of times you start something, you don't realize how much trouble it's going to be. That's kind of like grace too, man. I was talking about grace being, grace when it comes to Charlie, but there's grace when it comes to mechanical things too, and you have to not be so mad at it that you're going to give up on it before you give it a chance to work. Talking about grace to be patient with things. I'm not sure what to do about that. Well, I'm going to straighten this motor up. I don't quite know what to make of that. Apparently that's just a shaft there, and it had whipped out somehow. Interesting. All right again. There you go. Okay, I'll put the cover back on it before I find out anything else wrong with it. So I guess that was a good example of me taking way longer than I thought I would have to fix something that I thought was going to be super simple and quick. I think if there is a lesson in life to be learned from this, it's lower your expectations. Don't expect things to be super simple and quick. It's all right if something turns out to be harder than you thought it was going to be. If you have enough patience, and or if you want to use the word grace, if you have enough patience or grace to work through it, take your time. I didn't want to get sweaty and I didn't want to get my t-shirt dirty, but I'm pretty sure I did get sweaty and I might have even got my t-shirt dirty, but it's alright. It's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. In the end, we got the fan working, so that's what I always ask for. Put a little oil on these screws. It might not get taken out for another 100 years. Like the last time. Alright. So I think I'm going to stick this fan back up under there. I was kind of leaving it sitting up under here because I don't use this every day, just when it's, when it gets, I use it when I really need a big, powerful fan. So. That ain't every day. So I'm going to put that back under there. Thank the good Lord that it works as good as it does. And call it good. Thank my dad for saving this fan all these years and not letting it go to the dump a long time ago. That's a fine fella. I actually had this in my other room in there, using it to cool, that little, got a little storage room over there. It may wind up going back in there, but I'll stick it down here for the moment. It only weighs about 100 pounds. So. This is hot. Alright. Put all these little things away.